Subscribe now to the Milmar Zone. Like and share. And now, the feature presentation.
Away from me, you. I warn you, I'll kill you.
You ain't gonna do nothing but die. It ain't gonna hurt much.
Get that terror in your eyes, Trilby.
I'll kill you.
You ain't gonna do nothing but die. It ain't gonna hurt much.
Ernie, my lad, didn't you say you want to pick up the fine art of being a great detective?
I certainly did, Mr. Vance.
Well, for the present, don't try to pick up anything else. Should be along here somewhere. No tricks, my oversized friend. These little things explode.
Hey, what in blazes do you think you're doing? Well?
Imagine my embarrassment. I'm afraid I owe you folks an apology.
Think nothing of it. Any moron might have done the same.
Apology ain't squaring this.
Just a minute, Junior.
Oh, fine. Meet Ernie Clark, my over-enthusiastic assistant.
Would you mind telling us just what you two want from our lives?
Well, we were looking for the Argo Publications office, Martin Jamison. That's sort of a roundabout way.
This is Philo Vance, the great detective.
You are the great Philo Vance? Oh,
Either I'm an awful chump, or you're a very convincing actress.
I'm afraid the chumps have it. I'm Mr. Jamison's secretary. I just pose for the firm's magazine covers to help out a bit.
Just the same, she's the best-looking little corpse in the horror story racket.
Joe just says that because it's true. If you're interested, here I am being killed with an axe. Strangled with a cord. And dying of poison.
Charming. I always liked the better things in art. Must be nice work if you can stand it.
What a chick.
Ernie, show more respect for the dying.
If you wait till we get this murder over with, I'll take you to Mr. Jamison. He's in conference anyway.
Go right ahead. After the way you made me make a fool of myself, it'll be a pleasure to watch you strangled.
Thanks. Okay, Joe.
Right, take your position. Hey, you gents, if you don't want to be used as witnesses to this murder, you better get out of the shot.
Use us.
Keep away from me, you. I warn you, I'll kill you.
You ain't gonna do nothing but die. It ain't gonna hurt much. Hold it. Okay. You can relax now, Big and Mona.
Very interesting.
Thanks. I'll change and be with you in a minute.
We'll wait.
Excuse us.
Of course.
Certainly.
Finished already?
Yeah, we just shot it. The old boy in?
Mr. Jamison is conferring with Mr. Morgan. They're having words about something.
When aren't they? Mr. Philo Vance is here to see Mr. Jamison.
Oh, this is a privilege. I've heard so much about your exploits, Mr. Vance. I think you're wonderful.
Well, thanks. You're not so bad yourself, baby.
I beg your pardon.
Now, Vance is in the studio. This comedian is our cover boy for this morning. Say, what does Jameson want with a detective?
How should I know? Will you wait for him?
No, I'll see you later. Let's go, Big. We'll get that shot of you in the car now.
What I'd give for a date with a pigeon like that.
Ernie. A great detective has no time to waste on the opposite sex.
Maybe you're right.
However, I'll ask her tonight if she can pick up a friend for you.
Oh, thanks. Huh?
Well, here I am. Ready?
You know what? Just occurred to me. I don't even know your name.
I thought all great detectives find out those things for themselves. Or didn't you bring your magnifying glass?
I never use my magnifying glass on names. It makes them so big that I can't pronounce them.
Okay, you win. I'm Mona Bannister.
I'm Ernie Clark.
Glad to know you, Ernie.
Come on, let's go see Jamison. And now, do you know what?
Oh, what?
I'm going to let you take me to lunch.
But he never even asked you. You see, Ernie, how a great detective works? You didn't see me twisting the poor girl's arm.
This is Mr. Philo Vance and his assistant, Mrs. Phillips. Mr. Vance has an appointment to see Mr. Jamison.
Oh, yes. How do you do, Mr. Vance?
How do you do?
I've heard so much about your exploits. Just a moment, please. Mr. Philo Vance.
I'll see him in exactly 30 seconds. Dribble. Rubbish, the whole lot of them. I'm sick and tired of being able to spot the killers before I've read beyond the third page.
But our readers aren't. Not if sales and profits are any indication.
But if we publish books, we'll be able to increase our profits and our reputation.
Oh, you and your reputation.
Mr. Vance and assistant.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Vance.
Good morning.
Mr.
Ernie Clark.
Thanks for coming. This is Paul Morgan, my partner.
How do you do? Not very well. Jameson here has suddenly decided to worry about our reputation. He wants us to publish books. Murder mysteries.
Oh, I love those murders.
That's why we asked you here. Sit down and I'll explain. Mr. Vance, Mr.
Clark.
As you know, Mr. Vance, we've been publishing pulp magazines for years. Sensational stuff. We've made money on them. But for some time now, I've wanted to publish better type mysteries. Believable, authentic, written by people who know what they're talking about. Now, you've a great reputation as a detective, Mr. Vance, and I'd like you to write us a really good detective story. A perfect crime, one based on real life.
Being a good detective is one thing. Being able to write a book, well...
We have writers. You could collaborate with one. Write a really perfect crime.
There are no perfect crimes. There are some unsolved ones, true, but who would want to read an unsolved mystery?
I know. But I'm so sick and tired of this tripe.
Yes, I can understand what you mean.
Well, Martin, if you insist on this, you'll go on your own. Not one penny of my money will go into it.
But, Paul, I know I'm right. Let's call in Carl and Louise. See what they think.
All right, I'll get them. Louise, will you step in here with Carl a moment, please? Mr. Vance, every once in a while, my partner gets the peculiar notion to do this or that in order to help our business. Our business is all right as it is. But when I try to explain this to him, he stubbornly clings to his pet idea.
This is more than just a pet idea, Paul. And even if I have to put up my own money. What do you think, Mr. Vance?
Well, I think that,
Oh, Louise, I'd like you to meet Philo Vance. You too, Carl.
How do you do?
Sit down.
Miss Roberts and Mr. Wilson are two of our best writers, Mr. Vance.
We wanted to see what you thought about our publishing murder mysteries in book form.
Stupid. Too many of them now. Crime Club, Mystery League, Red Badge.
My viewpoint exactly.
What about you, Louise?
It's a good idea, but I don't think for us. We're not equipped for it, and the competition is...
Just the same, I'm going to try it. Will you write one for me, Vance?
So you insist on having your own way, do you? Well, don't come to me for anything.
I won't come to you for anything. And I have the murder I want you to write. An unsolved crime at present, but one I have the answer to. The case of Haddon Phillips.
Phillips,
But why?
you're crazy.
I thought that would get you. You see, Haddon Phillips was once a partner of ours. He was murdered 7 years ago, and his murderer is still at large.
And you think you found him?
I'm sure of it.
Or is it a her?
Why, that's impossible. The whole police force couldn't find a clue. Why drag this out of oblivion? Think of Mrs. Phillips.
She'll appreciate having the murderer brought to justice.
Elizabeth, will you come in a moment, please? Elizabeth, Mr. Jamison wants Mr. Vance to write a book about your husband's murder. You see what happened? You know how sensitive she is. He was her whole life.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it would be such a shock. Could you come out to my house tomorrow and talk it over? To solve a crime after 7 years would be quite a feather in your cap.
But you'll be the one who's solving it.
I'm sure of my theory, but I still need some facts. I can't discuss it with you here, but after you've heard my story tomorrow, I know you'll be able to put your finger on the murderer.
You make it sound very interesting and tempting, Mr. Jamison. See, I don't think that
This company has offered $5,000 reward for the killer's apprehension.
Hey, that ain't bad.
Solve this case and it's yours.
I'll be at your house tomorrow morning.
Now, what's the address?
Well, it'll take 3 maps to find it. I'll go along as guide.
Tomorrow's Sunday, Mona,
Well, that's just it. I'm going out that way to visit some friends.
and it's all settled. I'll be expecting you.
Goodbye, Mr. Jamison.
Thank you, Mr. Vance.
I've got to go back and look after Mrs. Phillips. Let's make that luncheon a dinner date tonight.
Raising the ante on me, huh? I'm not sure I can make it.
I can.
I've some important things to tell you. Now, the Park Royal, apartment 39, ring twice, so I'll be sure it's you. With a murder on the loose, a girl can't be too careful. How do I know you didn't do it?
Me?
8 o'clock.
Ah, what a babe. Now, why can't I date a chick like that?
I know one, Ernie. Same brown eyes, same sweet smile, the same personality.
Yeah?
Yeah. She'd be glad to have a date with you.
Oh, well, could you pick her for tonight?
Well, I'm afraid not tonight. You see, she's awaiting trial for poisoning 4 men. Dead ringer for Mona Bannister. However, there's another
Now,
girl.
never mind, boss. I think I'll just shoot a little pool tonight with the boys.
Oh, no, Ernie. I insist on fixing you up.
Yeah.
Might as well use it tonight, Ernie. It's for the best show in town. I can't go on account of that dinner date.
Well, thanks, boss. Hey.
Come on in. I'll be ready in 10 seconds flat. I mean 10 seconds flat.
I hope I'm not going to have trouble with you.
How sweet. An old-fashioned bouquet.
From an old-fashioned guy.
Oh. I'll hurry. Make yourself at home.
Home was never like this. I've always been a bachelor.
You know, I've been worrying about that. Would you mind throwing me my stockings?
Beg pardon?
I said, would you mind throwing me my stockings? They're in the glass jar on the vanity.
I haven't had much practice as a lady's maid.
You'll do.
What were the important things you had to tell me?
They can wait until later. I suppose you just came here to find out what I had to tell you.
Naturally. What other reason could a gentleman detective have?
Ah, there's good news tonight. Philo Vance avoided a fight. Acted a gentleman and didn't get tight. Brought little Mona home before dawn's early light. And that's a hit, chum.
If a bit corny. Is it all right for me to say that I think you're mighty cute?
Well, try it and see how it sounds.
I think you're mighty cute.
Oh, no, you better not say it. You put too much feeling into it. Well, if he's going to kiss me, why doesn't he do it before I waste all his time on my makeup?
What strange impulse comes out of the blue? Draws me nearer and nearer. Oh, that Alexander Graham Bell. Tell me all wrapped up for the night, beautiful.
If it's stuff you want, he ain't here. Don't talk so fast. What's wrong? We'll be right over, and for goodness sakes, be careful. That was Mr. Jamison. He wants me to bring you out to his house right away.
Tonight, but...
He's alone out there, or was.
Was?
Yes, he's sure there's someone in the house. Someone who might try to stop him from telling you about the Phillips case. Come on.
I wonder what we're getting into. Well, we'll know soon enough.
Oh. I'm going to hold these in my hot little fist. I may have to use them before the night's over.
That's what I like. Cheerful people.
The house isn't far from here now.
Nice country. You like to live out here?
Why, Mr. Vance, this is so sudden.
Take it easy. As Ernie would say, my intentions are honorable, but remote.
I hope nothing has happened.
Everything seems quiet enough. It's probably just an attack of nerves.
Oh, that was Mr. Jamison.
Hurry. Let's try the rear door. Careful, our gunman is still around.
Listen, little Mona. Let's call the police, huh? They get paid for getting killed.
Afraid?
Don't be silly. I'm just allergic to a dead body. Especially if it's mine.
You've had practice being murdered. This will be my first experience. Come on. I'll have to break a window.
Oh, please be careful. I'd like to know you better.
Keep your eyes open till I get inside. Come on in. Now I can die happy.
Oh, that gave me something to live for. Oh, let's leave this to the police. They're older than we are.
Don't be a sissy.
What was it?
Sounded like footsteps in the gravel outside.
I find out what's inside.
I think you've got something there.
Now, who's the sissy?
That's blood, all right. But where's Mr. Jamison? I can't see a thing. But that must have been our gunman. He probably took Jamison with him.
I think I'm going to faint.
No, not now. Wait till I get the police and I'll catch you in my arms. Hello? Send a squad car around to,
806 Pear Tree Lane.
806 Pear Tree Lane. It looks like murder. But you better find out for yourself. Who? Oh, this is Philo Vance. Yes, I'll wait till you get here. Well, they're on their way. You better look the place over before they get here.
You're the most curious man I ever met.
And, Sheriff, it looks like the killer is trying the same thing, disappearing with the body, just as he or she did with Phillips.
And it makes sense at that. But I don't see how they got the body out of here. Leastways, while you were breaking in.
It must have been done through the front door while we were at the back.
How do we know this guy Jamison didn't shoot himself? And then Vamoose. Maybe to throw us off the trail.
How do we know anything until we find Jamison or his body? Incidentally, I make it a rule never to find bodies on an empty stomach. And we haven't had dinner yet.
Well, you might as well go eat. You can't help us much right now. Not you. We're going to stay and look around some more. I'll phone you if we learn anything. And you phone me if you do.
I'll call you tomorrow, after I've talked to his partner.
Oh, good night, Mr. Vance.
Good night, Sheriff.
Good night.
Nope, it wasn't us. He went that way.
That girl left the bag. Catch him and give it to her, will you? We're going to stick around for a while.
Yes, sir. We'll beat him to the county line. I'm in no mood for a ticket or election. This whole thing looks like a plot to starve us to death.
Oh, I can't eat anyway till we find poor Mr. Jamison, if we ever do.
No can do. The lawman wins.
I should have told you time doesn't pay. Well, how very nice to see you again.
Listen, lady, this ain't funny. I got something for you.
Oh, thanks.
It's very kind of you, officer. Will that be all? Not quite, Rickenbacker. I got something for you, too.
Oh, the shame of it all.
All right, climb out, you two. Hey, what's this all about? Open that trunk. I want to know, too. Go on, open it. Close it. We're going back.
in and turn around. If you know what's good for you, won't try anything.
To all cars, attention all officers. Killer of Martin Jamison still at large and unidentified. Be on the lookout for suspicious characters, but exercise caution, as suspect will be armed and dangerous. Repeating, exercise caution. Suspect is armed and dangerous. Philo Vance and girl companion have just been released from custody. That is all.
Poor Mr. Jamison. And in this car, too. I'd hate to think where we'd be now if you weren't the great Philo Vance. Good night.
Wait a minute. I want to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay, go ahead. A few more won't matter.
Did Mr. Jamison have any enemies that you knew of? Never mind. You better get some sleep. You've had a tough night.
I'm okay, but I've been wondering about poor Mrs. Phillips.
Why poor?
Well, don't mention this, but she told me yesterday that she's going to be married again next week and go to South America to live.
What's that to feel sorry about?
Oh, I don't know. I just...
Could it be that you think she won't live to go through with it?
Why, of course not. What a terrible thought. What made you say that?
I don't know. I guess I'm a little tired myself. I'll take a nap and pick you up at 10 in the morning.
All right. Good night. Oh, don't bother.
The murder weapon, a .25 automatic, was found with the body. Philo Vance and the victim's secretary, Mona Bannister, denied any connection with the murder. When interviewed in the sheriff's office, Mr. Vance remarked, quote, "This was a heck of a way to spend Saturday night," end quote. Well, what do you think of that?
What time is this, Phillips?
Dragging us down here on Sunday morning to answer a lot of foolish questions. If you locked your studio, this might not have happened, leaving guns around. Honest, Mr. Morgan, I meant to lock it. Anyway, it wasn't loaded. We never keep loaded.
Good morning, everybody.
What do you want, Vance?
Just a few words with you, the writers, Mrs. Phillips, the photographer.
Concerning what?
A little thing called murder. That should interest you, Mr. Morgan.
Mr. Jamison is dead, Vance, and I don't want any books written. You have no business around here now, and I'll appreciate your leaving. Let the proper authorities handle this.
The sooner this is cleared up, the better for all concerned. That is all but one. Having trouble, Mr. Vance? Mr. Morgan doesn't want to cooperate, it seems.
The police here gave me authority to question all of you, seeing as how Mr. Jamison was murdered in my county. But if you don't want me to do it here, put on your hats and we'll go down to headquarters.
Oh, well, now, Sheriff, let's not be hasty about this. With you, it's different, but with Vance,
For your information, I appointed him my assistant. Is this all of them?
Oh, but Mrs. Phillips.
She's right here. All right, Mrs. Phillips. Let's get this over now, folks. Take seats. This will be informal now. Just sit back and relax. It seems that only Mrs. Phillips and this camera fella have alibis for last night. Mrs. Phillips was with some friends, and this fellow was out with a girl. Only it wasn't his wife.
I don't feel called on to furnish an alibi. I didn't do it, and I can prove it.
Well, you ain't proved it yet. I want each of you to write down everything you did last night, every single thing, and have it sworn to. And if they're witnesses, have them sign it too. And I want those statements back here at 5 o'clock tonight. My deputy will be waiting for you. It's not easy to change a story after it's on paper, and then nobody can claim later that they were intimidated or forced into signing something. I know most police don't work that way, but I'm kind of different.
Sheriff, I'm beginning to believe you're a good man. Do you have the murder weapon?
Right here.
Can any of you tell me how this got into Jamison's house? Well, the last time I saw it was in my studio and unloaded.
It was unloaded. I'm positive.
Oh, look at me. I don't know how it got there.
Well, don't worry about it. When we find out who did it, we'll know how it got there. If you have any ideas you think will help, now's the time.
Seems to me, Sheriff, that Jamison was killed because he knew or thought he did who killed Phillips. The murderer shot him to keep him from talking.
I read up on Phillips last night. Go on.
So now we have the motive. But the killer was smart enough not to leave a trail. Which means that we'll have to solve the Phillips case in order to catch him.
Maybe you're right. And all these people were mixed up with that one, too. Except for Miss Bannister.
Yes, you see, I wasn't working here then.
And I suppose all of you have alibis for the Phillips murder.
No, only Louise did.
I'll tell you why my husband was murdered. Because of money. He carried $50,000 insurance, payable to Mr. Jamison and Mr. Morgan. That's why he was killed.
All of us carried company insurance. Nobody killed your husband for that. We hadn't collected the insurance money yet.
Oh, why?
We couldn't prove death without the corpus delicti, and that was 7 years ago.
But now, and according to law, we have him declared legally dead. And next week, the insurance company will pay us. And you, Mrs. Phillips, are fired.
I have my husband's life insurance coming to me, Mr. Vance. So you see, I don't mind. In fact, I'm glad.
We kept you on because I felt sorry for you. But for you to try to drag me into this mess,
I took this position hoping to get evidence on Mr. Jamison. Until he was killed, I thought he had murdered my husband. But now... I'm just so horrible.
Sheriff, that'll be all for now.
Don't forget, folks, my deputy will be here at 5, and you meet him with those statements unless you'd rather be hauled in. Better start writing now.
Mona? Oh, Morgan. What insurance company carried Phillips?
capital.
Thanks. I hate to ask you, but would you mind coming back at 5 o'clock, Susan?
But why?
Well, I want you to spread the information that I'm visiting Mrs. Phillips tonight. And after I've seen her, I'll know who the murderer is. Have you got enough men to tail everybody from 5 o'clock on?
Nope, I only got 5, and there's 6 of them.
I can tell somebody.
Oh, no. I mean, you'll be with me. All right, I'll use Ernie.
Goody, goody. Lucky me. We have such good times together. Dead bodies, police arresting us.
And when you get home, I want you to call Ernie at my place. Tell him to meet me in front of the Capitol Insurance Building in an hour. My number's in the book.
I've got your number, Mr. Vance. You're just a good-looking detecting machine.
Sorry, beautiful. I'm always antisocial till I've solved the case. However, you have until 5 o'clock. That ought to give you enough time.
Enough time for what?
To get dressed for our date tonight.
I'll read you our investigator's report. When Mrs. Phillips, Mr. Jamison, and Mr. Carter arrived at the Phillips home, no lights were on except in the library, and all doors were locked. When they received no answer to their knocking, they looked through the library window. Mr. Phillips was on the floor, face upward, his head and shirt front bloody, obviously murdered. The room showed signs of a struggle. Mrs. Phillips became hysterical. Instead of breaking in, they went to the police station to report what they had discovered. When the police arrived, the body had disappeared. They found bloodstains, but no murder weapon. They investigated, but could never get enough evidence. But since Phillips had just taken out a $100,000 policy payable to his wife, and as Mr. Jamison and his partner Morgan stood to gain from the firm's insurance...
Off the record, do you have any theory?
I had and still have the idea that Morgan or Mrs. Phillips murdered him for the insurance. And either paid Carter to keep quiet, or perhaps Carter was in love with Mrs. Phillips and shielded her.
I doubt that about Carter. He was a lawyer then. Now he's our county attorney. He's just not the type.
Why was he along that night?
Jamison's auditors found the shortage. It looked as if Phillips had been embezzling funds.
Maybe he hadn't, but knew who had. And whoever it was figured dead men don't give.
Did you investigate everyone in the firm?
Everyone. One of the writers, Carl Wilson, hated Phillips, claimed he'd been swindled on some property he bought from him. I'm not certain about the Roberts woman, but she's pretty thick with Morgan. The others were in the clear as far as we could find out.
Thanks for the information. It might come in handy.
Sorry, I have to break in on you Sunday.
That's all right, Sheriff. Goodbye, Mr. Vance.
Goodbye, sir.
Look, honey, I'm not going to waste all this time solving a murder when I'm a great detective. So I invented a shortcut.
You hired?
Sure. I just say, where would I hide if I was a criminal? Then I go there, and there he is.
Golly, you're super.
Oh, it's nothing. know, this Philo's an all right droop. I don't know he tries hard, but he really got it. I don't know, you're a little slow in the uptake or something, you know what I mean? Now, how many crimes do you think he'd solve without me?
He's behind you, Ernie. He's behind you.
Are you kidding? I'm behind him. He's just fronting for my brains. Now, can you imagine a guy saying that about a genius like Mr. Vance? So I punched him in the nose and walked away. Well, hiya, Sheriff. Hiya, boss. I was just talking about you.
I know, about what a genius I am.
Yeah.
How was the show last night?
Oh, super. And you know what, boss? You know, you dropped that other ticket, and Phyllis here picked it up, and when we get to the theater, here we are sitting right next to each other. How's that for a coincidence?
Amazing. It must have been kismet.
Was worse than that. It was fate. We got a date for this afternoon, so I brung her along. Hey, what's cooking with him later?
I got a job for you from 5 o'clock on. All right, you can go, too. I want you to be where you can watch the office of the publishing company at 5 o'clock. When Carl Wilson leaves, tail him. No matter where he goes, stick with him.
You know me, boss. I won't let him out of my sight. Come on, baby. I'm going to show you how us great detectives work.
Bye-bye, you all.
Well, now we've got everybody covered. The murderer takes the bait tonight, we'll nail him.
He'll take it all right. A two-time murderer won't hesitate at a third.
Can I take you anywhere, Sheriff?
No, thanks. I'm going to get busy and put my shadows on the job. So long.
So long. Ready?
Ready and waiting. You see, you don't know women at all.
Permit me.
What nefarious plans are brewing in that mastermind of yours for tonight?
Regarding the murder or us?
One case at a time, Mr. Vance. The murder.
I'll be good. What happened when you told him that I was calling on Mrs. Phillips tonight?
Mrs. Phillips seemed very much upset. She's afraid the murderer might try to stop her from talking the way he did Mr. Jamison.
That's exactly what I expect him to do.
Well, isn't that risking Mrs. Phillips' life?
Not really. It may be risking yours. But the murderer might decide it's simpler to rub me out. And if you're with me when he tries it...
I went quick, didn't I?
Uh-huh. Perhaps you'd better stay home and let me handle this alone.
What? After I spent hours making myself beautiful for you? Besides, tonight, dead or alive, you're going to buy me a steak. Uh-oh. Coming events cast their shadows.
He's trying to frighten me. I'm sure it was Philo, or hadn't you heard? Bruce, Scott. I don't believe in tempting Providence.
Didn't cross your path, so it came to bring you luck.
Silly superstition, isn't it? What could that funny old cat do for me? By the way, where does Mrs. Phillips live?
Way out on the hillside road. It'll take us an hour or so.
Ah, moonlight ride. Off breezes. Romance.
Uh-oh, here we go again.
A good time to run out of gas.
If the gas runs out, I run right along with it. I hate to sound like a nervous woman, but isn't that car behind following us?
Yeah, I've been watching him in the mirror. I don't know, but hang on. I'm going to see if this buggy can fly.
car down and hang on. We'll make a run for it. We just lost the tire.
Yes. Don't you have a gun?
Never carry one. I like to use my brains instead.
I'll start using them.
Don't make a sound. I'll grab him. You help if you can. Toss it to me. Oh, that desert.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now what?
Gotta get to Mrs. Phillips' house quick. That was terrific shooting at the speed we were going. Thrilling experience, wasn't it?
Haven't had so much fun since I got my finger in a pencil sharpener. You entertain all of your girlfriends like this?
You haven't had any fun yet. Wait till they help me change this tire.
Huh? How is it that you never learned to change a tire?
I saw somebody once after they changed one.
Why, you...
No temper. We've got to get to Mrs. Phillips' house fast.
You know, I just thought of something. If all the suspects are being shadowed, why didn't somebody show up just now to help us?
Either our sharpshooting friend gave them the slip, or there's another dead body headed for the morgue, where he intends to put us before the evening is out.
You know, I like that in you. Your conversation is so sparkling, so reassuring.
Wish I could reassure myself about Mrs. Phillips. If she's alive, I won't be long. Oh, Mrs. Phillips, it's a relief to see you vertical. I was plenty worried.
Worried? Why, Mr. Vance?
Someone tried to kill me tonight. I thought you might be next.
It looked as though you were planning it that way. But why should anyone try to kill you?
Keep me from talking to you. When he missed with me, I figured you'd be the logical alternate.
Luckily, I've been well protected. He's guarding the kitchen now.
Howdy. You seem to be enjoying your work, Deputy.
I found him hiding in a shrubbery, and I invited him in. So you see, I'm quite safe.
I ain't let her out of a fight. Much. So I observed.
Mona said you were coming out here to ask me some questions.
It was just my way of setting a trap, which nearly cost us our lives. Your fiancé, Miss Bannister, said
No, my poor dear husband, Mr. Phillips. He just loved to play golf. Although he could hardly find time for it. That set of clubs was the last thing I ever gave him, poor dear. So, you know I'm remarrying?
Mr. Thaddeus Carter. And you're going to South America on your honeymoon.
Yes, day after tomorrow on the Santa Maria. It's a lovely boat. After all, I have been alone for 7 years.
I understand. Well, I may not see you again, so congratulations and best wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Vance.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh, Deputy, tell the sheriff I'll see him in the morning, just as soon as I've seen Mr. Thaddeus Carter.
You're like Mr. Carter. He's a fine man.
Of course.
Well, is he alive?
And kicking.
Tell me, my pet, or am I supposed to guess? Oh, come on, tell me. Who did it? Who's the murderer?
Can I trust you? With a big secret?
Cross my heart. Who did it?
Prepare yourself for a shock, Miss Bannister. I haven't the slightest idea.
Is, county attorney like district attorney?
No, the DA just prosecutes for the city. Carter handles the entire county.
Morning, Chief. Morning, Mark. Carter, this is Philo Vance. The sheriff's been telling me about you.
How many cracks?
It's a pleasure, Mr. Carter, and congratulations on your forthcoming marriage.
Oh, you know, do you? Sit down, please. Well, thanks for your good wishes. Mr. Phillips and I are getting married tomorrow, and
We're going to South America.
well, I declare, getting married, isn't it kind of sudden? I've been trying ever since she lost her husband. She only accepted me Saturday.
Speaking of her husband, did you know him?
I know. What makes you ask?
I'm working on the theory that whoever killed Phillips killed Mr. Jamison.
You think maybe I'm the murderer? You better handcuff me, Sheriff. I'm a dangerous man.
Mr. Carter, someone tried to kill me last night to prevent me from talking to Mrs. Phillips.
I know.
Might I ask how you know?
Mrs. Phillips telephoned me. If you or anyone else there, Vance would have a right to suspect you. Last night we had men shadowing everyone connected with this case, and no one did anything they shouldn't. And yet somebody tried to rub Vance up. Darn if I don't think you fellows do suspect me. Mark, tell him what I was doing last night.
Working from 6:30 until 2 this morning. We were training up a lot of work so he could go on his honeymoon.
Well, that's a load off my mind, even though it doesn't help us any.
On the contrary, it does help.
I'm glad. But do me a favor, Mr. Vance. Don't bother Mrs. Phillips anymore. She's upset enough as it is, and I don't want our honeymoon spoiled. She's a fine woman, and she's had trouble enough.
I hope I don't have to bother you again.
I hope so, too. Goodbye, Sheriff. I'll send you a postcard from Rio. Well, just don't say having a good time, wish you were with us. Then I'll know you were lying.
Goodbye, Mr. Carter.
Mr. Vance.
You'll have everybody, including Mrs. Phillips in Morgan's office at 5 o'clock. I'll have you make an arrest.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Mind telling me who?
Yes, I do, but I promise you'll get a shock. Just tell Mrs. Phillips you have a pleasant surprise for her, nothing else.
It's a deal, but I sure hope you know what you're doing.
We do.
Seems like all of you have perfect alibis for the night of Mr. Jamison's murder. The only thing I don't like about him is that two of you are using each other. Could be collusion, Mr. Morgan. Nosy old codger, ain't I? Well, folks, that's just the beginning.
You might as well know it, Sheriff. I'm Mr. Morgan's wife. We've been married 3 years, but I wanted to keep on working here. And Carl and the others wouldn't have liked it if they had known.
And I don't like it now.
Well, I hope that satisfies you, Sheriff.
It's quite a relief. We found out last night you were living together.
Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, Sheriff.
Glad you got here. I was beginning to run out of conversation.
I'm sorry we had to subject you to all this questioning and suspicion, but it was the only way that we could find the murderer. Well, isn't anyone going to ask me who did it?
Who?
Well, arrest Mona Bannister. Sorry, beautiful. You thought you had me fooled, didn't you? She did kill Jamison. She took the automatic, went to his house, and shot him. Then met me at her apartment and pretended to get a phone call from him. Clever trick, but a bit old hat.
You...
Save your acting for the jury, Miss Bannister. She had her boyfriend do the phoning.
That was Mr. Jamison's voice.
No, you just said it was. She had her boyfriend fire the shots as we got there. And she took me around to the rear so he could get the body out the front way. When I get through questioning her boyfriend, I'm sure I'll have the key to the Phillips murder.
But last night when you were shot at.
That was her boyfriend again. I let her lead me into ambush. I almost got it. I could have, too, if she hadn't thrown that gun out of reach. That's where you made your fatal mistake. With that gun, I might have killed the man whose testimony will send you to the gas chamber.
Come along, Miss Bannister.
I won't. He's insane. He knows I didn't kill Mr. Jamison. I couldn't have.
Sorry, beautiful, but these alibis prove it couldn't have been anyone but you. Take her away, Sheriff.
No, I won't go. I didn't do it.
Will you come quietly or must I use shackles? Well, folks, that closes our case. Thank you and good luck. Wait a minute. Beautiful. Did you come through for me? What in blue blaze?
And that's what happened.
No fooling.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I had to do that, Mona, but it was all I could think of.
You mean you didn't mean it, that I'm not arrested?
I knew you didn't do it, but I had to make everybody think that you did.
What? I should murder you, Philo Vance.
If she ain't guilty, who is?
I don't know, but I had to pretend the case was solved so that the killer would relax his vigilance.
When do we get him? Or her? Oh, yeah. That's what I want to know.
Very soon now, very soon.
Putting me on a spot like that. If you don't buy me the best dinner in town...
If I don't, may I never get out of this elevator alive.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was listening so hard. You fascinate me.
You see? I fascinate her, too.
What do you mean, too? You woman starver, you.
I'm sorry. Don't breathe a word of what you've heard to anyone.
I won't, honest.
I'll just stick around here to make sure.
Now, fella,
How are you going to catch the killer, boss?
well, I'm going to use a new system. I'll just figure out where I'd hide if I were the murderer, go there, and there he'll be. So long, kids.
You see what I mean, baby? Stealing my stuff again.
But look here, Vance, I'm getting worried. You sure you know what you're doing?
Listen, tomorrow morning we'll not only solve this case, but we'll prevent another murder.
Well, I hope there won't be any trouble, sir.
Nothing we can't handle. And first, sir, have the steward ring the phone the instant anyone starts up.
Very well, Mr. Vance.
Mona, go in there with Ernie.
Okay. But won't you please just give us a hint?
Yes? Be prepared for anything. I'm not saying I can't be wrong, but if I am, I'll be more surprised than anyone.
If you're wrong, it'll make us look awful dumb.
That's the signal. Quick. Don't make a sound. Don't even breathe. This may be our murderer. Ready?
We're happy to have you aboard, sir. Hope everything will be satisfactory. Thank you, Percy. Happy, darling?
Hello. Or should I say bon voyage?
What are you doing here? I thought you'd arrested your murderer. No, but we were aiming to. Miss Bannister didn't do it after all. But I understood you to say
I'll talk fast, Mr. Carter. We're here to prevent someone killing you. No, it isn't Mrs. Phillips. You married yet?
No. She wants the captain to marry us at sea. It's more romantic.
What business is it of yours, Mr. Vance? And what do you mean by preventing Mr. Carter's murder?
We'll see very soon now. You won't have long to wait.
I'm going to make arrangements with the captain to marry us at once.
You're going to stay right here, Mrs. Phillips, until this is over.
Now, see here, Vance.
Quiet, both of you. Unless you want to get killed. Sheriff.
You don't want to die sudden?
Mr. Phillips, I believe. We've been expecting you.
Haddon!
Well, here's your man. Ernie!
Haddon, this is my fault. I didn't know it. I couldn't help it. I couldn't.
I should have suspected a trap. I should have killed you all.
That's enough, Philip. Let's get him out of here.
Give me a handful of this, baby. It'll be a pleasure. This time, Junior, you're going to play dead for keeps. Come on.
Come along with us, Philip.
I'm sorry, Mr. Carter.
But I saw that man dead. I can't understand it.
He wasn't dead. It was just a scheme to swindle the insurance company out of $100,000.
But how did you figure that he was...
Very simple. He was in trouble, accused of embezzling. Faking his own murder was the easy way out.
And if he could stay dead 7 years, $100,000 insurance?
Precisely. But Mr. Jamison got suspicious.
And called you in.
That cost him his life. Mrs. Phillips stole the gun from the studio. And Phillips killed Jamison. Then Mrs. Phillips decided to marry you in case I suspected that Phillips was still alive. But when someone tried to kill me, I knew it was her husband.
I don't get it. He could have been any hired killer.
Yes, but a right-handed man couldn't have shot out our tire from the left-hand side. When Phillips' photograph revealed that he was a left-handed golfer, I knew that he was our man.
But you investigated me the next morning.
Just double-checking. A little habit I have.
And they were going to murder Mr. Carter?
As soon as the ship got underway, Phillips was going to take your place, use your papers, and start a new life in South America with the insurance money.
I'm a bit upset, but don't think I'm not grateful. That was a close call.
You'll never come any closer and live. Oh. I'll have your things taken out for you.
Thank you, Mr. Vance.
Goodbye, Mr. Carter.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
How would you like to take a trip to South America? Maybe I can talk to the captain into booking us on this cruise.
Maybe I can talk the captain into something else.
That's my exit music.
Wait a minute. Still want to run?
You're wonderful. You're marvelous. I'm just not the marrying kind. I'm a born bachelor. I could never make you happy, beautiful.
Oh, yes, you could.
If you were Mrs. Vance, I wouldn't even like you.
Oh, but that's silly. What makes you think that?
Well, you see, I never cared for married women.
I'm going to give you just 5 seconds to change your mind. I'm going to start for that door, and if you do change it, whistle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Darling.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe now to the Milmar Zone. Like and share.